Khamzat Chimaev hasn't fought since his win over Kevin Holland last September. A fight with former champion Kamaru Usman has been speculated, but remains unclear as who is to blame for it taking so long. Well, Usman has now made it public that he wants that fight and then fires back at Chimaev for flirting with him online. He says, cut the weight and let's make it happen.
I went into Dana's office and I said, hey, okay, this is the guy you guys are saying that is the next guy in the division. Okay, give me that guy. I said that to Dana. At the end of the day, I have been and still is the boogeyman of this division. If you want to fight, you want to be a champion, cut the weight and come and fight. I asked for the fight. He's saying he's the boogeyman of the division, and I think he's a really, really good fighter. Very, very good fighter. I like the guy. But hey, you want to fight? Cut the weight and let's fight. Be disciplined. He don't want to do that anymore, you know? He's got money now. He's loving the life, and he's living good. He don't want to cut the weight. You know, he wants to eat, and he wants to move the goalposts for him. No, you want to be champion. This is the gold standard right here. Cut the weight, and let's make it happen. He's ranked what? Number 3, right? Isn't he? In what division? Welterweight. You want to fight? Let's fight. I mean, at the end of the day, this guy keeps flirting with me online. You know, he's flirting back and forth with me online. At this point, he's just using me for clout. You know, if you want to fight, cut the weight, and let's fight. If not, stop using me for clout. Stop flirting with me online.
Chimaev then responds with a message via Twitter, baiting Usman to fight him up at middleweight, saying, you might be the boogeyman, but I am the wolf.
Kamaru Usman, what are you talking about me? You said you want to fight 84 kilos. Wait, no problem for you. You're a boogeyman. But I'm the wolf. Come up.
But now Chimaev's real opponent may have just been discovered, with Khamzat's coach leaking the information via social media. Anderson Gold on Twitter finds the exact moment in the fight to reveal that his next opponent is Jared Cannonier. And here's what Cannonier said when he was asked about the potential matchup.
So, I mean, I know he's popular. Everybody wants to see him do his thing and stuff like that. If they called me and said, hey, Khamzat, for a contenders match, that's a yes.
Now on to other news, with Jon Jones vs Stipe Miocic set for UFC 295. And on the Weighing In podcast, Josh and John give their honest thoughts on the heavyweight showdown.
Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic official, which is November 11th in New York City. I think that, what's Stipe now, 40?
I've always loved Stipe, and he's a great guy, but not a good matchup for him. Not a good matchup at all. Just but being honest as far as...
Even if he was younger, would it be a good matchup for him?
It would have helped. Let's just put it that way. It would have helped. In every aspect of this fight, he's coming in second. I don't know. I just look at this, you know, and like I said, Stipe has been a hell of a fighter, hell of a champion. He fought, you know, Cormier 3 times, you know, but he got beat by Cormier also. Stylistically wise, I don't think this is a good matchup for him.
I just think the time away. I think had he fought him maybe like right around the time he fought Ngannou, I think if he'd have fought Jon Jones around that time, I would have probably given him a little bit more of a chance, you know. But now the time away from the sport, you know, I mean, I don't know his training regimen, if it's been as consistent. It's hard to stay as consistent when you know you don't have anything really looming in the background. I mean, he's done everything he needs to do in the sport. Both of them have. But Stipe at 40 years old, I think you're looking for things to motivate you. This is a fight that will motivate you, but he didn't have that for the 2 years he's been off. So what do you do now? But were you able to get better? Or are you just the same? You know, I mean, he is coming off of a loss. His last fight was against Francis Ngannou. I mean, that's how long ago it was that he fought. So I think Jon, though, and I've said this about every heavyweight, guys like Cain Velasquez and Daniel Cormier were such great heavyweight fighters because they were wrestlers. Jon Jones can wrestle. And all those guys, if he can get you down, I think he can control that top position. And his ground and pound is better than both DC's and Cain Velasquez. He's got his elbows,
freaking nasty.
His reach in terms of posturing up in the guard and letting the punches go and then mixing in the elbows with that, just absolutely nasty. Nasty. I agree with you, John. It's not a good fight for Stipe, but I'm not going to count him out. Every time I counted that guy out, he found a way to win. So we'll see.
Stipe, in a lot of ways, lives off of the fact that he can wrestle. He doesn't use it all the time. He uses it when he has to against guys like Ngannou or something like that. That's why he didn't win against Ngannou in that fight. He couldn't get him to the ground. Jon's wrestling in MMA, good.
Yeah,
it's real good, and he's going to be able to put Stipe on the ground, on his back. How good is Stipe off of his back?
And Jorge Masvidal also picks Jon over Stipe.
I think, stylistically, Miocic, on paper, should be his toughest fight ever. Because he could wrestle back into him. He's naturally bigger and he has good hands, but you can't bet against Jon Jones. It's like that, like you can't bet against Jon Jones. You know, he's like a bear trap, man. He's gonna get you, you know. And if he takes that fight to the ground, or even if he's on the feet, elbowing you, kneeing you, he's just a problem. I can't bet against Jones, man. It doesn't matter, you know. So I think if it does go down, it's gonna be the toughest fight for Jon Jones that he's had on paper, and he's gonna have to pull out the dog in him, I think, to win this one, because Stipe's no walkover fight for nobody in the world. And I think stylistically, he has a lot of the tools to possibly win this fight, you know, but my money's on Jones.
And Daniel Cormier reveals what Stipe must do if he has any chance of beating Jon Jones. This fight will be determined very early, at least in my opinion, because we will know from the very start of the fight whether or not we are seeing the Stipe Miocic from before, or if we're seeing a slowed down version of the former champion. We'll know that very quick, because what we already know is we do get a little bit of a slower version of Jon Jones. He is a little bit different than he was when he was a light heavyweight. No one could watch that fight with Cyril and think any different, because the left hand that he threw that ultimately led to the takedown was a lot slower. He even admits it. He goes, "I've gained 30 pounds, of course I'm going to be slower." But if Miocic is fast, if Miocic with his boxing background, golden gloves, is still fast, that could give Jones problems. Because the one thing I learned in the fights with the Jones and I was that he's very good with his timing. He's very good at finding the spots, but nothing's overly fast. But he's got great timing and a great ability to really pick and find those moments that he can land. But Miocic is fast, and if he's still fast, he can get the job done. But if he's slowed down, he's almost 41 years old, I think. If he's slowed down even a little bit, it could be a problem. Can't slow down. He's got to be on his game. He's got to be fast if he wants to get this done. Meanwhile, Sean O'Malley is in training camp for his fight with bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling at UFC 292 next month, and gives his prediction for how the fight will go down.
I want to strike. I'm going to do what I do. I mean, it's no secret. It's a striker versus grappler matchup. That's it. I'm going to go out there and try to put his lights out. I do that every time I fight. Has there been anybody that's hurt Peter Yan? Anyone that's been able to catch him, crack him? I dropped him to a knee in the second round. I can find people's chins. I do find people's chins. That's what I built a career off, knocking people out in the first round. He cuts a lot of weight. When you cut a lot of weight, you know, that brain liquid goes away. Doesn't take many shots. Could take one shot right on the chin to put him down. And I know I'm capable of that. So that's, you know, that's how I see it going down. I don't spar outside of camp, but I did start sparring in this camp a lot sooner, a lot further out from the fight than I usually do. So I feel like I'm going to be just dialed in, on point, and find his chin.
And after another impressive title defense this past weekend, Alexander Volkanovski still has his eyes set on a rematch with lightweight champion Islam Makhachev, who many fans thought he beat in the first fight.
We all know I want that lightweight belt. You know, we all know I want that rematch. You know, I want that Islam fight. I think not only for me to get that belt, for me to get that win back, but I think it is a massive fight for the UFC as well. I think it's a fight everyone wants to see. It was literally that type of fight. It was that close. It was a cracking fight. Everyone enjoyed it. And it was very, very high level. There was 1 and 2 going at it, and we showed out. It really was that. Yeah, he lived up to the hype. I lived up to the hype, and that fight lived up to the hype. We just need to see 5 to 10. I'll be lying to you to say, hey, I'm just going to walk through him and do this and do that. Like, it's going to be another highly contested battle, but I guarantee I get my hand raised. You know what I mean? I think I'm going to capitalize on a lot more things. But yeah, again, it really is 2 top guys going at it. And they've done 5 rounds, and you're going to see another, there's a good chance you might see another 5 rounds of it. I'd love to get a finish, but we're both that good. It might be that type of fight. Again, it's a challenge, another challenge that excites me. So, you know, that's why I obviously want it, because that's what keeps you. Again, we talk about I don't need to be motivated, but it's exciting when I can have guys like that in front of me. Like that camp that I had, I did like 14 weeks, you know what I mean? Like it's just so good to have someone like that in front of you, and you ask about how do you get better. It's things like that that get you better. Certain opponents in front of you that get you better. In that fight, he got his hand raised. Do I think I won? Yeah, I do, but he got his hand raised. All right, I need to work on these things, so I'm going to evolve again. And then, you know, these lightweights and featherweights aren't going to stand a chance.
That's it for today's video. If you have a prediction for Chimaev vs Usman, leave it below. And until next time, take it easy.
So I'ma let my chest poke out just a little. I'm headed to the top, can't stop in the middle. We are on the rise, so keep watching the sky.